Hello, my name is Chen Lim, an associate of CBCM. We have planned webinar for foreign investors 2020 Chungbuk, which is information sharing session for foreign companies who are considering to expand opportunities in South Korea and provide useful information and business opportunity solutions that Provis can provide. Today, I want to talk about the revised foreign direct investment policy of Korea, focused on incentive programs for FDI. And Sarah will explain in the second chapter the business and logistic environments in Chungbuk province. It will take about 20 minutes in total, 10 minutes each chapter, and we can share the presentation material by email if inquired. First chapter is an introduction to the revised foreign investment policy in 2020. I will explain the overall outline of the investment policy and introduce the Korean government incentive program and the incentive policy of Chungbuk province. My presentation will follow as shown here. First, we will look at the outline of the Korean foreign investment support system, followed by FDI requirements and types, and incentive types, and at last, the incentive requirements. The key point of foreign investment policy in Korea is to open the scope of the available industry to FDIs as much as possible and provide business environment where leading technology companies can do business competitively in Korea. It also aims at building a market environment that encourages the development of investment companies, at the same time, development of regional economy. Hence, Korea has an active foreign investment protection program that meets international standards, where there is no limit in the overseas remittance of the profit by the investment principal and business activity. Registered FDI firms are protected by the same legal protection as the Korean firms. Furthermore, Korea is creating a business environment for FDIs where leading and top-notch firms can pursue business in Korea through establishment of regional headquarters, R&D centers, so that companies can increase qualitative employment and strengthen the development of industrial ecosystem. The minimum requirements for foreign companies wishing to invest in Korea is to invest Korean won 100 million, and at least 10% of the total investment amount must be the foreign investment. Korea allows foreign investment to get into 95% of the receipt industry, and this excludes only few special business fields. The four types of eligible FDI investment types that include: first, establishing a new Korean corporation or acquire a stake in the existing Korean corporation. Second, invest in a long-term loan with a period of more than 5 years. Third is the newly added type, which is to reinvest operating firms on appropriate earned surplus for establishing or expanding a factory. The last type is to participate in the establishment of a non-profit research and development organization. And the assets recognized as foreign investments are tangible assets such as Korean currency or foreign currency cash, capital goods, stakes, listed on foreign stock markets of foreign companies, and domestic real estate owned by foreigners. In addition, intangible assets such as intellectual property rights, such as patents and process technologies, are included in investment assets. Investment assets, except the cash, should go through an asset value evaluation process by authorized monetary valuation agency. There are four major incentives for foreign investors. The first is cash grant support, which the amount of support is determined by industry classification, investment type, and job creation effect. In particular, from this year, by the newly applied cash grant program, firms can get up to 30% of the investment amount. In case of high technological firms and for R&D, the upper limit is 40% and 50% respectively. The second is the tax reduction and exemption on acquisition tax and property tax for corporation income tax for core engineers. There are additional incentives that include industrial site provision, rent reductions, employment grants, and training costs. After meeting the FDI registration requirements, the requirements for receiving incentive applications are as follows. For cash grant, which is of the utmost interest, foreign investment should account at least 30% of total investment, and that 30% should not include long-term loan. The requirements for applying for the cash grant program in investing in certain industries such as new growth driver technology, high technology, and high-tech product industries, materials and components industry. Especially investing in the establishment of research and development centers in high-tech fields has been actively promoted. The requirements for tax benefits are different by types and industries. Industry site support differs in terms of rent provision and rent fee depending on site type or location. Please contact us about the detailed qualification requirements. On this slide, I want to explain key updates of FDI policy revised this year. As mentioned previously, Korean government have increased the upper limit of cash grant for FDI firms. The upper limit for the high-tech industry is adjusted to 40% and to 50% for R&D. Starting this year, Korea has actively expanded the scope of recognized types of foreign investment and revised the law to include the unappropriated earned surplus of foreign investment companies as FDI for reinvestment in Korea. Therefore, foreign invested companies operating in Korea will be able to receive more incentives. And Korea prioritized the firms that generate large employment. Lastly, it is preferred for companies to establish regional R&D centers and Asian regional headquarters. There are two main preferred industries for applying incentive programs. Firms doing business in this field should take close attention at this part. First is new growth driver industry and source technologies such as future vehicles, intelligent information, bio and health industry. The other is technologies for materials and production process, directly related to new growth driver industries, for example, material technology and process technology. The firms in this business field will get benefit of getting higher upper limit for cash grant. Here you see further explanation on the cash grant of the incentive programs. As mentioned earlier, the foreign investment portion must be at least 30%, not including the long-term borrowing. Cash grant is provided up to 40% of the investment costs, and in case of R&D, up to 50%. Please see below items which are taken into account for the cash grant assessment by the Cash Grant Review Committee. The procedure for the cash grant program can be summarized into 5 stages. The cash grant is paid through the investment budget of the central government and local government. That means both central and local governments are very important for the selection of companies to award the cash grant and the amount. Hence, it is essential to form a strategic relationship with local governments, which has geographical competitives through prior discussions. Today's webinar is designed to enhance mutual understanding between local governments and the leading technological firms. There are several types of tax reduction and exemption programs. For the 7-year reduction program, tax is exempted by 100% for the first 5 years and reduced by 50% for following 2 years. The eligibility is to invest in preferred industries such as new growth drivers, technology, and established firm in some designated location. The second is a 5-year reduction program, of which the tax is exempted by 100% for the first 3 years and reduced by 50% for the following 2 years. Special zones designated by the government to be eligible for tax reduction include Foreign Investment Zone, Free Trade Zone, Enterprise City Development Zone. There are various tax reduction programs such as income tax reduction and exemption for foreign engineers. In the next two slides, I want to explain the incentive program specific to Chungbuk province. Cash grant target and amount is decided by the negotiation between the central government and local governments. However, the other three incentive programs can be different by the laws of local governments. I will explain Chungbuk's incentive programs on those three parts. Among several taxes, local tax in Chungbuk is reduced for 10 years. For the first 7 years, the reduction rate is 100%, and the next 3 years are 50%. In the case of industrial sites, the site is offered for 50 years, and the rent period can be extended. Also, some industrial complexes of Chungbuk can be provided at low prices or free of charge. Lastly, there are various employments and training subsidies as shown here. Other than the four incentive programs as mentioned previously, Chungbuk has additional incentives which is legally supported in order to promote foreign investment in the province. The first is the Chungbuk Investment Promotion Fund. It is possible to establish and operate the Investment Promotion Fund in accordance with Chapter 3 of the Chungbuk Business and Investment Promotion Ordinance. What that means is that there is a separate financial resource for promoting FDI with the funding amount Korean won 8.5 billion at the end of 2020. The second is fast track of MFDS process, the Ministry of Food and Drug Safety, equivalent to Korean FDA, which is applied to companies located in Osong High-Tech Medical Complex in Chungbuk. Companies within the complex are considered to have obtained manufacturing and import permits. Additionally, the firms may also be subject to prior examination of medical patent applications. This greatly reduced the time required for the approval of the MFDS and patent applications. The third is Chungbuk Free Economic Zone such as Osong Biopolis and Cheongju Aeropolis. For the firms in the designated zone, broader incentives are provided. This concludes my part of presentation. Thank you for the listening. And if you have any questions or want to get more information on Chungbuk, please contact us by email. Thank you.